Welcome, everybody, to episode 42 of our board gaming podcast, A Master's Degree in Rolling Terribly, where our opinions are made up and their shapes don't matter. I'm your host, Gaz, and to find out who's joining me, you must first solve this riddle. Here are your clues. All right, if you're playing along at home, have a listen. He is a man. He doesn't support. Ever. And he recently threw off the shackles of the longest PQ ever made to put on some tighter fitting and slightly more painful shackles. Now, I'll give you a minute. This is kind of really awkward because there's no one here to answer my question, so I'm probably just going to have to solve it for you.
Oh.
Detty!
I wasn't sure if I was meant to say something.
Well, you won't because it's a mystery. I like to throw in random puzzles and riddles at times you don't expect it when you think everything's just going to completely flow.
Yeah.
Like, say, at the end of a scenario, and then you're like, oh, we'll just finish this scenario. No, wait, here's a puzzle.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what you did there. No, but like for the video that we're recording also, I'm just sort of sitting here. Like, it's not like I'm a surprise guest or anything. I'm literally sitting here just waiting to say something.
Yeah, but in the podcast world, people listening to it, they don't know that.
That's true.
They don't know. You're breaking down the fourth wall. Or the fifth wall.
I'm breaking down some kind of wall, yes.
Yeah. So we're playing 5D chess now.
That's right.
But anyway, so welcome, Detty. Say hi.
Hi, Detty.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's been a really good week. I've been enjoying just this whole switcheroo thing where I get to sit here and plan absolutely nothing. And it always throws me a curveball. So I'm just very excited. And look, just like you, when you get to sit there and just go, I'm excited to hear what today's episode's all about. That's literally where I'm at right now. I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to cover what we did, and I'm kind of mentally prepped for a little bit of that, but everything else, yeah, no idea.
Yeah, well, that's it. I have done heaps of prep, way too much prep. I am too organized and probably will throw it all out the window and just start talking rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
But I do envy you envying me because I like being in my position normally where I just rock up and be what's coming, like what's happening today. So hopefully you can enjoy it.
Is there a world where you and I can both rock up and neither of us are prepped for it, and maybe there's a third person that runs it?
Yeah, maybe we need a third person who preps, right?
No, not preps. Yes, preps. Yeah, 100%.
Preps.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So I mean, some people may be listening saying, "Oh, I'm surprised either of you do prep," but which is a bit rude. But hey, welcome.
Yeah.
Anyway, so on today's episode, we have got things to talk about. I'm not just making it up as we go. And in no particular order, we will talk about scenario 122, which is the Eternal Crave. That's Crave. You're not missing my Australian accent, not cave, but Crave.
Mm.
We will take a look at Detty's new look. All right, he's wearing some brand new shackles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll see how many other times I can say the word shackles in the episode without it meaning anything about the class.
Okay.
I've got a few interesting topics from the community, which
Ooh.
Detty has no idea about.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to throw at him to find out his opinion.
Uh-huh.
And this is the one I'm most excited about.
Okay.
There's a game.
Uh-huh. Like
all right.
quiz or
and I'm
something?
going to be deliberately vague about this and say absolutely nothing else.
Okay. All right. Well,
so that's it. That's what's happening.
If I feel the air enough and talk enough, we will run out of time and won't have to play the game, right?
We can go forever. This is the longest podcast ever. It's the one that never ends. Like never-ending story, but it won't end.
Okay. Well,
so yeah.
Take us away. I'm excited. I'm definitely excited.
Well, with that, let's jump into the scenario. I think because when you tell us about your shackles, I think you're probably going to reference the one scenario that you've done.
Yes.
So it's probably better that we talk about the scenario first so that we're not like, oh yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
Right? That kind of gets a bit shit.
Absolutely.
So scenario 122, the Eternal Crave. And let's throw it over to you because you have the books and remember more about what we do in the scenarios than me.
That's right. So this is the one thing I had to prep because I knew I would have to prep it for tonight's episode anyway. And that was scenario 122, the Eternal Crave. Now, a while back, we didn't actually mention this because it was an amDirt Raw kind of thing that we haven't actually gone down. Or maybe we have. I'm not too sure. But we met a road event lady. And she challenged us to an eating contest of hot variety of foods. And it was a weird exchange of flexing. And I believe we noped out of doing it from what I can understand. And she said, well, hold my beer. And she did it, right? She flexed again and then was like, by the way, there's a scenario I want you to come along. And it was really weird because it was kind of like one of those friendly ones where there's food involved and it's not really hostile. It's just a weird exchange with some of the people in the world of Frosthaven. Wait,
It felt like Kirby. Like we're going to play with Kirby because he cooks all the time.
I have a weird question for any lore nerds out there that may know this. Frosthaven is the town. What's the world called?
World Haven?
Is it?
That wouldn't be. That would be dumb. If they seriously called it World Haven, then
Oh, no, that makes sense because then there are all these havens within the world.
no, it doesn't really make sense. It's like calling everything I, putting I in the front of everything to make it sound cool.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work.
So yeah, but law, yeah, no, 100% law people. We won't use the word nerds. Please come at us with what the world's called.
Mm.
I imagine that probably would be covered in the RPG that is coming out soon or already has been released.
Yeah, I was just only just hit me now that Frosthaven's only like our town, our silly little town.
And Gloomhaven was the other town.
Yeah,
the other silly little town.
Yeah. It's better than our silly little town.
Is it?
I don't know. I feel like they have leaders and kings and the council and all that kind of stuff. We've got maybe a chieftain and a barracks. So after she gave us that, we kept it on the side and we're like, cool, here's one of our many side scenarios we had accumulated over however many months that we've been playing. And then it got to choosing what we were going to do. So due to our trap being away, Mark was away for a bit. We were pounding through less main story-ish scenarios, and Gaz suggested we do 108, which I won't spoil exactly what it's about or anything because we didn't do it, okay? But he suggested we do 108, and I said, oh, no, that's gross. And he was like, why? Show me. So I sent him a photo of it, and with the photo comes the setup and everything and the rules. And I'm not going to go into what it was, but he was like, yeah, that's gross. No, burn it to the ground.
I don't even want to do that one. Like
you said burn it and pretend we did it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, let's just make a podcast where we talk about it and we just make up to see if we can convince everyone we did it without actually doing it.
Yeah,
because it sounds so not fun.
No.
And now again, please come at us if we are wrong and if it's actually quite fun and the mechanic makes it interesting.
Yeah.
But everything about what I was reading makes it sound horrible.
Just looking at it from just an initial point of view, it was like, I'm not in the mood to deal with that. That was just literally what went through my mind. And also, I just think based on the rules that I saw and its layout, I think it would suit having a trap there because I want him to see it. I want to see him struggle with that as well. I think we all need to equally hate it.
100%. We've got to bring everyone down and no one gets away. We don't want him coming back and being like, oh my God, you missed the worst scenario ever. Like, it's so bad. You just dodged a bullet there.
Yeah.
Like, we want him to line up on the firing squad and take the bullet along with us.
Yes, exactly. We're friends like that.
In fact, maybe we'll even use one of these house rules and invite 7 other people and we can play like 11-player Frosthaven. We'll ask Dwarf because he knows how this works. He's really keen on the rules. By the way, if you ever want to play with more than 4 people, hit up Dwarf, right? He loves these questions. He loves the puzzles. You say maybe we've got 6 people, one person can't make it to the session, so we want to do it by a webcam. He's got all the solutions. Just hit him up.
As much as we love Dwarf and his campaign fixing and his FAQ and all that kind of stuff, the one thing he does need to tweak, based on the volume of people asking, is probably a 5 to 6 player guide to making your campaign work for 5 to 12 people or something like that. And I think that'll be really good because then people can look for that and there's a nicely written official not official guide towards playing with lots and lots of people.
Yeah.
So
happy Thanksgiving.
Gaz suggested 113 after that. So if you've done any of these quests, you go, oh yeah, I remember that a little bit there. He suggested 113, which I think is the Lush Grotto, or that might have been 108. And I'm going to go on a tiny tangent here and talk about PQs very quickly. So while Mark was away, I moved his stuff aside for various filming stuff that I had to do, and I accidentally saw a tiny bit of his PQ. And I spared Reddit while I accidentally looked at it, and it said something about killing a type of mob, and it said something about killing a type of flying mob. And I didn't think much of it at the time. He's playing a trap, and his PQ is to kill flying mobs. So
his modifier deck only has like +3s in it. Like every time he draws, it's like +2, crit, something like that. So he just has to just pew pew. He'll be done.
has anyone played with someone who is in a situation like this, and what do you do? Is it a situation where, let's just say we're in a scenario and they're flying mobs and we need to kill them all? Do we all just stand around and slightly whittle them down so that he can run up and do his basic attacks? How else is it
Yeah, I
going to
mean they've only
happen?
got like 3 health.
Yeah, that's true. If
Like
they're
you
normal,
should be able to punch them to death,
yeah.
right? Like I
That's-
feel like that's comical. Well, the idea that there'll be this like little trap dude running up to like this little like flying fairy thing, and they're starting getting like fisticuffs, right?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
well, hopefully, it'll be comical. It'll be a fun one to report on of 3 of us standing around watching this trap try to kill a bunch of them.
beat up a bunch of
Yeah,
fairies.
it's gonna be
Yep.
gross.
Okay.
So
Cool.
we didn't want to do that one either because 113 happened to have stuff that Mark will need, and he's been waiting for. We haven't found any yet. While Mark's been on the trap, so let's start pushing some of his PQ out of the way. So then we settled on 122, and that's when we were like, "Yep, no, let's just do it. We'll do 122. It's the whole pepper one, which is the one that we did this time." So the scenario rules. Oh, sorry. The goal for this one is the scenario is complete when the hungry maw is dead. At the end of that round, we read a thing. Alternatively, the scenario is complete when the mammoth bark, the axe nut, and fire pepper are combined and stirred in the pot. That is word for word. Nice. So apparently, there's an angry maw who's been sleeping. This is according to the story of going into this scenario. He's been sleeping, he's been hibernating, whatever, and the old pepper lady claims no one has given him his stew for over 100 years. Even she hasn't, right? And now he's waking up. And if he doesn't get his stew, he'll leave the cave and the world will end, apparently. It's that catastrophic. Like, that's how
All the
strong
north,
this
the whole
boss is, right? The Hungry
Yeah.
Maw. So she then hands us a very shitty little recipe that even it's been passed down, right, from her family. So she's not too sure what she's doing either. And then she has no idea and gives it to us and off we go. So in this particular
I don't know
scenario,
how this became our problem.
No.
Either, by the way.
no.
Like it's like her grandma on her deathbed is like, I hand you this recipe. It's the only thing that'll stop the North from being destroyed from this really terrible monster. And she's just like, yeah, I'm probably gonna handle that.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
yeah, I find some suckers and I'll con them in. She's just a charlatan. Like, 100%, just absolutely.
But she didn't even like nicely ask either. She just went, "Oh, like, can you eat this? Can you handle spicy food? Right? Can you eat this?
Yeah,
Or watch
that's
me
it.
eat
That's what
this.
she got us, right?
All right, come over here.
Yeah,
I'll show you
big
something really
fan.
cool. By the way, the world's gonna end. Need you guys to sort
That's
this
it.
out."
While you're here, can you solve this problem?
That's right.
That's your problem, apparently. So,
Yes. So we start off in a room when there's 2 doors, and this is the cool thing because Gaz was saying to me like we were asking each other where we're going. It's just you got your setup. There's an A tile with a little what looks like an altar of some kind. We guessed it was the pot, and the minute we saw that, it was kind of like this is probably going to be if we do the cooking one or whatever the stew one, it's going to be a go get it and come back, and kill the other thing is probably going to be a go kill the other thing, and we were trying to decide which one to do. So we ended up going into now from my point of view and according to the actual layout of the map, the south, to go down we're going to do cooking stuff. And I think you mentioned something along the lines of, oh, there's a boss, we don't have our full party or something like that, or I don't have my snowflake. Maybe it might be better to go do the non-killer boss one.
yeah. Well, that's what I thought. I was like, well, I mean, I know the boss will scale to players health wise, but I figured that, yeah, we probably want to have a full party if we're going to go fight something. So let's go do the collect quest because how hard could that be?
How hard indeed. Like it's collecting something. That's it. Collecting and cooking. How hard can cooking be?
Yeah, yeah. So it's yeah, well, exactly. That's how hard could cooking be.
Now,
And you know what? We will find out as we discuss how hard cooking actually is.
well, we opened the door, and I remember we made our way through. And the minute we opened the door, the other door locked, and that was kind of like, oh, I guess we've made our mind up. We can't just change our mind and go, nah, screw this. Let's go kill hungry more dude. So we set off down the corridor, and the layout was kind of weird. This board is really big. It was really big and boomerangy, and there were only 3 mobs in the whole room. There were like polar bears, and there was like 1 polar bear and 2 like snow imps. And I need to tell you that the amount of ice terrain and traps and hazardous terrain and obstacles and difficult terrain, just this place was littered with it. And of course, it's starting to shit me, but I get it. It's a design thing, and it's there to make you solve the puzzle kind of part of the layout, but holy crap, every time they throw crap everywhere and then throw flying creatures in it, it annoys me. I kind of want them to struggle as well. I kind of want us to slowly pip our way towards each other so we can start duking it out. But no, of course it's bloody imps.
Yep.
So yeah, we go through them. But mind you, I'm like a level 1 shackle. Level 3 shackle with that hasn't picked their level 2 and 3 card. We've got Gaz is nearly level 9, is on his coral, and Phil is still on his fresh blink blade, and we are mowing through things. By we, I mean those two are mowing through things. I'm just trying to keep up. And there was a cute thing that Gaz is now doing with his build where he starts leaving tiny little puddles on the floor, and then he tries to collect it and move on and leave it, but sometimes he leaves it behind him while I'm trying to play catch up, and I've got to avoid the hazardous, the ice, and his pea puddles, and it just slows me down.
Well, now that we don't have a meteor throwing fire everywhere and a snowflake throwing like shards everywhere and a trap throwing traps everywhere, I can finally, play what's like basically 20-25% of my character, which is use water.
You like that kid in the sand pit that has it all to himself now, and he's just having a great old time.
Yep. And then some other kid wearing shackles comes along and starts whinging. Oh, why do you get to play in the sand pit? It's like, because I never get to.
The
So
sand in my shackles.
yeah, that's
So
yeah, it was really interesting because there wasn't a lot of mobs. There was a lot of crap everywhere, and it I don't know, it just seemed I don't know, it seemed kind of cool like going forward, but again, it does seem kind of a bit like, oh, I just want to move around. Like even the first turn, I think we moved forward, or maybe it was the second turn. We moved forward, and then it was instantly like, oh, okay, how do we do this? Because if I go there, I'm going to slip and slide all the way over here, and so the positioning becomes really tricky. So yeah, I quite like that because it adds an extra layer of kind of puzzle.
yeah,
But it definitely is like, yeah, it is annoying when the other things just fly up to you,
the other
and
thing
you're
is
like, oh,
also because there's 2 rooms in there.
mm,
There's 2 doors. Sorry, there's 2 doors, like one halfway through this giant, like not an L shape. It's more like a C shape or something. Like it's what's the word? Convex. I think it's convex. I don't know. It was wider. I don't know. I know it in my head. I just can't transfer that to.
present.
Yeah, crescent. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
crescent tile.
remember,
And
because I don't know my shapes,
no,
so it's good that I got that one.
that's right. That's right. Because of all the terrain
Yeah.
squares and all of that, right?
So many hazardous circles.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
squares.
And what I wanted to say was the layout of as annoying as it is, we had the spawn tokens on there. Well, they're spawn tokens now, but at the time they were ominous letters that were on there, and we kind of knew that they were going to play a role later. So it was starting to feel a little bit more like Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was like there's very little to kill. There's a lot of crap everywhere, a lot of traps, a lot of stuff to avoid. In fact, there was a really clever one at the very end that Phil was like, I've got no choice but to like slide into either the trap or the hazardous terrain, and he had to jump and use jump boots there. And this is kind of where things got funny again because we split up for some reason. We do that sometimes. When there's 2 doors, we don't go what's behind door number 1 and then go what's behind door number 2. For some reason, one person goes one way, one person goes the other, and both doors end up open around the same time. This time, Gaz got to open the middle door first, which luckily I was there with him, and then immediately the Phil door got locked. So he had to then come all the way
Come back over.
back.
Yeah.
And then,
Uh,
yeah.
just, just before you go into the next room stuff, just to take a quick like break on something.
Mm.
It's happened a few times now where we've put the little letter tokens down on the board and there's been no rules for them.
Yes.
Every time we've gone like, oh, that's ominous. I bet that something's going to spawn there. And we've been pretty much correct the entire time, right?
Yes.
Like when X trigger happens, spawn these monsters at the letters. What do you think about that? Like about the letters being there without any knowledge about what they're doing and us being able to kind of meta that they are spawn points.
I'm fine with it. If it gets to the point where they're always a spawn point, right? That's a meta problem because they aren't switching it up. They're putting the letters down there with no clues, and then we're preparing for it. If they throw a curveball at one stage and it's like there's an A there, and then it's like you got 2 minutes to disarm this bomb and it's a puzzle, then that'll be rough, right? Because we weren't expecting that. But we had that in scenario 22 when we had that letter on the ship, and it was like, what are we going to do about this? Do we prep near it, etc.? And then when we cleared everything on the top of the ship, it opened up to go underneath, and it was like, oh. And there was a lot of discussion in the community around just tell us what it is, tell us what it is, etc. I'm fine with it. I'm honestly fine with it right now with the way it's going. And yeah, we're metaing it a little bit because we're assuming it's always going to be a spawn point, and it won't always be. I think.
I
But for
think, yeah.
now,
Well,
we technically guessed. We pieced this scenario together quite simply because of the layout and because of the spawn points. So it allowed us to kind of mentally prep for when that was going to happen.
yeah, I think that makes sense. And I just wonder if in playtesting, it would have come up it not being there, and maybe that meant people were a bit more reckless. So, for example, we saw the spawn points there. I think we had a pretty good idea we had to go get something and come back because we were getting back to the pot. But I mean, in other ones like the one where there was the Beyblade spawning and the dude at the end that you had to stop with the one we had Ormy in, like that wasn't a go collect something and run back, but we still assumed there were spawns.
Mm.
I just wonder if maybe there was like people kind of going really hard expecting that they cleared because I mean, things spawning later without any indication is kind of a gotcha.
Yes.
And if you don't, I don't know. It's an interesting one because I haven't played it without it. But I'd be curious if we went through that without the letters down there. Do we just be like, oh, this is easy, and then you pick up the thing, and then suddenly all this shit spawns everywhere? Would it be feel bad? Like, that's come out of nowhere, or would it make it like, oh, okay, it means we need to play more carefully all the time? I don't know. I don't know the answer.
It,
Like, it's
it'll
just a
It'll vary
yeah.
depending group to group. Here's the other thing about that whole situation. In the book, when I'm looking at it or the scenario is set up, it shows me the letters. Now, when it's got something that it's tying to then and there, the A tile are the emissaries, right? Or the A is Crane, who you need to look after. When there's a reference to it right then and there, obviously the token goes down there so we know what it is. Now, in the book, it's got the tokens there, but because it makes no reference to it, I'm not even sure whether I'm supposed to even put the tokens down. Right?
Mm.
When it's referencing something, it makes sense to put it down so everyone understands what this is, whether it be the elevator thing or whatever, or even explaining the spawn points. This was going to be a spawn point, but is that my secret because I've set it up and I've seen it,
Mm.
right? It doesn't say. We're just putting them out. I'm putting them out so that it's like, well, there's no point in me knowing this. I don't know what it 100% is, but it's fair that everyone can see that letter there, and none of us can know what it does.
All right, so good question for Dwarf because he usually listens to the podcast about 12 hours after it drops and then lets us know all the things we got wrong. Are we supposed to be putting down letters if there's no reference to them at all and they have no impact?
It
Get
is
back
an
to us,
interesting
and
point.
then we'll get back to you, being listeners, with his answer after this. So,
Okay.
in like an episode's time.
So
So yeah.
yeah,
Cool. Anyway, that was just a side note. But yeah, anyway, the second room or technically the third room, right, which we
mm.
opened up. I think I jumped in there and just basically killed everything while you and Phil was ages away at the other door,
And I was
and you
getting
were
over a
like,
puddle.
"Oh, my little shackle legs don't know how to make me move quickly,
Yep.
so I don't know what I'm doing." And I was just like, "Oh, I'll just kill these guys."
Yeah, they were just killing themselves on you, and you were absolutely annihilating them. I did eventually get into the room to try and do something, but by that stage it didn't really matter. And we got to see our old mates' ice rates. We're seeing them a fair bit lately in some of these side scenarios. And funny, I was listening to the old episode, the Frozen Crypt that we did, I think scenario 5. Where we went first met the ice rates and how much fun we were having with them and all that. They're still good. Like I still really like them. The one thing when we haven't seen them this long is that we forgot again that their health is the same. Literally the only thing that changes is when they go from normal to elite, and it changes
Shield and
their
retaliate.
that changes their innate stuff, which is pretty cool. But no, it was cool to see them again.
Mm.
They're flying as well, so there you go.
And they drew the invis card first up. I'm pretty sure that was like their first card. So I mean, which again we got around because there's only I think one of them from memory. I think it was
Mm.
a couple of polar bears, some imps, and frost imps, and one of the wraiths. So yeah, it wasn't too bad.
No, and Phil made his way back. They cleared them, and then there was another door. And because the other door was locked, we opened this door. And then we get literally the Frost Prince from Scenario 21. He designed this tile because it was just literally one of everything. There was an obstacle, there's a giant ice blocky thing, there's difficult terrain, hazardous terrain, traps, loot, and a
It was a mess.
chest. It was
It was an absolute
horrendous.
mess.
And there's two chests, one right near the entrance of where we were making our way in, which was the gold tile, and of course a nice juicy temptation treasure tile at the very end that you got to somehow navigate to. And then yeah, we had to. That was the goal. Loot that, which we started planning on doing, knowing full well that was probably going to cause the spawn.
Well, interesting enough, because we were of that opinion. We're like, no, we'll kind of move along, and then when we pick up this bark from the chest, which we didn't know there was a chest, but we assumed the bark was towards that direction we're going before we opened the door. We assumed that once we got it, that's when everything would spawn. But actually, half of them spawned once we opened
You're
that door.
right.
So it's like, open the door. Here's the bark. Oh, by the way, here's a bunch of spawns.
Yeah,
And Phil happened to be like just having a snooze or something like that in the
right
corner
next to
with
them.
like three frost imps that all just went like, "Oh, you're a tasty meal. I'm gonna have some of that." And he did get munched.
Which snow imps are known for a lot of their, muddle strengthen and their shield heal and all that. No, they pulled like several times in a row the damage 3 or damage 2, damage 3
Look,
range
look,
muddle. I mean, not muddle, a brittle crab, and absolutely
damage,
wrecked him.
yeah, damage two, right? Even the damage one with three of them hitting you,
Mm.
it sounds low, but it's massive
No,
amounts of
it's
damage.
ridiculous.
Right, especially if you're already brittle,
Yeah,
right? Because in the first one, and all they need to do is draw a +1, and suddenly it just like three little imps, they just do so much damage, and that's what they did. I think they either had the +1, or so the attack one or the attack two on him, but all three hit him, and just he went like, "Oh, I'm dead," right? Like he went really low.
yeah.
So
So yeah, we kind of got a little bit split. Phil went and dealt with them. I was in between, not really hitting anything. I was more watching what was going on and just checking to make sure everyone was okay. Phil yelling at me every 2 seconds to remove his poison and remove his brittle.
that's so
Um,
because at the very start, you're like, "Oh, I can remove your poison." He's like, "Okay, cool." And then like every turn, he's like, "Can you remove my poison yet?" And you're like, "No." Can you do it now? No. Can you do it now? And it's funny is he didn't have poison, but he wanted to play a card that was going to give him poison. And so there's this weird anti-syncing going on
mm,
where he wanted to do something, but he couldn't do it until you told him that you would enable him to
yeah,
do it by
which I
taking
never
it
did.
away. And you never did. You
No,
never did at all. And he's just like, I just want to get rid of this poison. Have you
yeah.
got poison? No, but I want to give it to myself so you can take it away.
Yeah, look, it was a bit messy. But no, we slowly started to beat all that down. Gaz went and, did the right thing and picked up the thing, because if I picked that up, it would have been like done. We would, have to redo that one
Yep.
for sure. Gaz picked it up. We got the extra spawn. The earlier things in the earlier room spawned. It was more snow imps and ice wraiths and, polar bear or whatever. And we knew we had to make our way. We're getting section events of readings, and you find this, you do this, this happens, this spawns. The next bit was just go back to the pot and start cooking, which we started to head
Yeah,
back
we
and do.
yeah, we made it back. It was got a bit clogged with frost imps and stuff like that, and it was getting a bit hairy. But I think we figured that because this wasn't a if anyone dies, you lose,
No,
right? Which is kind of like I think we've had a couple of them recently, and it puts a
yes,
lot of pressure on you
it
because
does.
anyone can mess it up for everyone,
That's
right?
right.
But because that was the case, I had heaps of cards and heaps of life. I was like, this shouldn't be too bad. I'm the best one to have this, and I just need to get in position so I can jump over all this stuff. And then in classic Phil, I feel like he does this all the time. He gets real stressed, like he's gonna like lose and he can't do anything, and then he just like pumps damage. He's just like, oh no, I've only got like a few cards left. He's just like, oh, I keep drawing green cards. Or what's this purple one? Oh, like 16 damage. Oh, everything's dead. And you're like, okay.
Yeah,
He's like, yeah, I've only got 3 turns left now. And you're like, you just killed everything. Like,
he's Husker,
so
right?
yeah, he likes to set the bar really either really low so we don't think he's going to do much, or makes the stakes really high. So when he kind of succeeds, we're like, "Oh wow, you pulled that out. Didn't think that was
Mm,
going to happen." So yeah, he did that again. And just like I think from what I understand, the blink blade will do a lot.
yeah, I was really
It's
impressed with that.
pumped a lot of
So
damage out.
he and I stayed back. I went all Hodor and continued to do not much, but also used my cards to mitigate a lot of the hits that were coming in. And the whole plan was to distract them while you ran off with your 3 card. I can move
Mm.
twice, dealio.
Well, I think something that was we didn't talk about this afterwards, but just mentioning it now, something that was super underrated that you did, and I mean, not to give you shit about it, you were learning the class the first. No, seriously,
I know what you're about to say. Yeah,
the first kind of scenario on a class is always really tricky, especially one with like the shackles that has so many moving parts that you're trying to figure out the ordering. Plus, and we talked about this a little bit. We'll probably talk a bit more about it in your shackles review. Everything was dying so quickly; it had no life and was really dead. So throwing status effects on it was almost useless, right?
Mm-mm.
But the one thing that I think towards the end there that made a massive difference was the fact that you absorbed all those brittles.
Mm.
Right, sitting there within range of Phil, and he was getting like hit. But when frost imps are hitting for one, and they're not giving you brittle, right? That's nothing,
Yeah.
Or I think me as well. It's like shooting me. It's like, oh, here you go. It's like I don't care. Like I'll take one damage.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm not getting brittled, so I don't really. Yeah. So I think that's gonna be massive for us to plan around like when we have those because it's going to take away those turns of I'm just theory crafting now and I don't want to go too much on a tangent but those oh my god if they draw their immobilize we're all screwed
Yes.
but it doesn't matter we got you
That's
like you
right.
just like I'll just eat it thanks for that yum 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 right
Yeah.
so,
No, it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to know that you've got that fail safe kind of
and it's a
situation there when you know
support
it's there.
it's a good feeling support
Oh,
that's
that's
like
if I bring it.
oh come on now he's not gonna yeah he's like oh is that really useful was it really helpful for everyone else never bring that card again.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, that was kind of it. So we
Yeah.
kind of moved forward and got back to the pot.
Go back to the plot. We were rewarded with a puzzle. And this was really kind of cool at the time. This was really interesting because it was like, what's going on? What do we do? And I took a screenshot of the thing and sent it to the other two so everyone could look at it. And it was the recipe. It was the recipe we had. We had all the ingredients. The goal we grew up was the mammoth bark. And now we had to actually make the stew. And it looked like an algebra equation with a ladle and a bowl and little equations for some of the ingredients.
Mm.
And I looked at it and I was still smiling like, oh, you guys got this? It's all good.
Oh, this was. I have so many things to say about this, but I don't want to say all of them.
Okay. Okay.
I'll
Well,
go through in order in kind of dot point form, and then we can pick out the ones that are more interesting to talk
well,
about.
let's cap off the scenario just quickly and just say we did it. We're
Yeah,
done, and
yeah,
then don't worry about that.
yeah.
Go for it.
So, okay, so puzzles are good, right? And the puzzles we've had so far have been good, right? I've enjoyed them. We talked last week, or the raw, maybe it was the raw. No, it's toward at the end of our last episode where we talked about the outpost event we had, which was the most fun outpost event ever. Was a puzzle, right? They've been good, but when you do the puzzles, okay, to gatekeep the finishing the scenario behind a puzzle it's such a bad feeling, right? And it was also very vague. Like it told us what we were supposed to do, but it didn't say if you don't know, then go do this,
Mm,
right? So, I mean, I know we explored the community a little bit afterwards to see how everyone else felt, and I don't think I'm alone in my opinion
you are
here. But
definitely not.
no, but like people were like, "Oh, we just did the scenario again." And I mean, that sucks, right? To get all the way to the end and do it all, and then go, "Well, am I supposed to do it again? Am I not? Can I just go kill the boss? Like,
Mm,
do I start?" It's. I think the idea is cool, but I feel like, and I think I said this to Phil afterwards. If it had been all right, cool, you've got it all there. Here's your puzzle. You can't complete the scenario until you do it but take it with you and just keep playing, right? So go back to Frosthaven and the scenario remains incomplete. If you solve it, go to this page and there you get your XP reward or whatever you get, and you get the scenario complete, right? Like something like that that gives you an extra incentive to solve the puzzle, so you feel rewarded,
mm,
but not so much that you go, well, in order to keep playing the game, I need to solve this puzzle
mm.
because that's what the puzzle became. It became a roadblock, right? It was a dead end, a door, whatever you want to call it, that said you can't keep going until you do this. Whereas it like the puzzle book, the outpost events, road events, things like that are like, well, if you fail, don't worry about it. It's all right. Just keep playing the game, but you're just not going to get a cool reward.
Yeah.
Uh, and so that's where I land. And that's even without talking about the actual puzzle at all. That's just how I feel like the positioning of that.
The
I don't know.
concept of it. Got you. Here I'm with it. I probably am not as against it as I guess a lot of the people are. I am to a degree. I definitely am. I think that ultimately puzzles at the end of the scenarios, right? This is the first time it's happened. But puzzles at the end of the scenarios, I actually loved it, right? I love the idea of it. And I love the surprise because it really came out of nowhere. Like, we didn't expect that. Now, there may have been drip feeded hints throughout the story heading into here. There may have been words, etc. we didn't pay attention to, whatever. I don't know. None of us picked up on any of that, right? But I love that it just literally came out of nowhere and surprised us. That was cool. Okay. It was annoying because obviously we didn't know we were walking to one, and that's where everything you said comes in. If there was any kind of thing at the start that said, by the way, at the end of this scenario, there's going to be a puzzle, it may take on average between 15 and half an hour, factor that into whether or not you want to actually do this scenario tonight, or if you want to be more mentally prepared, that at least giving people the options, or knowing that it's that. Because when we do it for a couple of hours and then we get to that stage, it was definitely adding on to the time. Because all of a sudden it was like, well, we can't go home. This is delaying the outpost phase. This is delaying our whole session in a way. And we're tired. This is the part where we're most fatigued in it. So I actually think there is a world where this is actually okay. But yeah, I think that ultimately, I think it's, yeah, a bit more warning or whatever. This will probably never happen again. Let's be real. This will probably never, ever happen again. This is the only time. But yeah, for now, yeah, that's why I'm very torn.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it in our Discord, and somebody said when I was like, I said to Dwarf, I was like, hey, thanks for the heads up on that one, by the way, mate. And he's like, oh, you guys don't like spoilers, etc. He's like, please tell me you took I'm quoting him here.
Kill the
Please tell
boss.
me you took the good, sensible fight and not the shaky puzzle, right?
Hmm.
Now I responded with, but she lied to us. She didn't say, hey, fight or algebra, right? She said fight or go collect something. And
Yeah.
I think, again, to your point, that's the key piece, is that you didn't expect it, you didn't know what you're signing up for, and therefore you got to a point and it was a roadblock. If if it had been a solve this puzzle, and if there's three answers, if you get one of the two wrong answers, then you don't get as cool shit. If you get the right answer, you get something awesome. Then at least it's like feels bad that we didn't get the cool thing, but we keep moving forward.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that for me, that it's just like, nope, stop.
It's so rough because I love surprises, even bad ones, just because it really keeps you on your toes. And this
Hmm.
was, in all honesty, probably a bad surprise, and it's situational. Everything is totally subjective to your makeup of group and how much people are into. You're gonna have groups of people that just be like, oh my god, fuck this. This is, I don't want to do
Hmm.
this, right? And you got others that are
Yep.
like, oh my god, I'm gonna solve it first, right? You're gonna get a mixture of everything. So, like I said, applaud it. Absolutely applaud the fact that it totally, it was one of those shock moments where it's like, oh my god, we have to now do this.
Yep.
Lol, not it, right? But yeah, it kind of sucked the air out of our session a bit.
Yeah, exactly it. And I'm really glad that this wasn't a late session. Like sometimes we go pretty late and it gets to the point where you're like, oh, thank God we're done. Okay, cool. It's good. All right, let's back up and we're going because it's a Monday night. We've got to go work, etc., etc. I'm really glad it wasn't like 11 o'clock when we got this, because it
Mm.
would have been like, no way would I have brain power to sort it out. And I mean, it probably would have been one of those, oh, I guess we'll chuck it up in the Discord and we'll chat about it and we'll work it out like over the week, and we'll hopefully solve it before the start of next
It
week.
just becomes awkward because then do we do the outpost? Do we not do the outpost? Like,
Yeah, that's
what
it. So
happens?
a quick word on the actual puzzle, right? Again, without going into it, because I don't want to spoil stuff
Yeah.
for people any more than they are. I think it was fine. I think it was just a little bit vague on some of the key points, and it's
Mm.
not like as in it didn't tell us how to solve it, but there definitely uh, it was there was information on you didn't have all the information to start with, right? Like looking at it, it wasn't obvious what you were doing, and again, not to work it out, but to all the pieces of the puzzle. And I think that can be a bit of a tricky one, again, when you're not letting people aren't aware of what they're supposed to be looking at. It's kind of like giving someone a puzzle but not telling them that they're supposed to have prior knowledge to something coming into it, right? If that's the case, then it can be hard because people don't factor that in.
Mm.
So yeah, it's tricky, but it was fine. Like I think by the time we figured out how to do it and all that kind of stuff, and again we got a bit of a rush when we got it, which was cool. And there was a couple of moments me and Phil were like, "Oh, I got this, I got that." Um, Funnily enough, we got to the same answer, which wasn't the right answer, but it was almost the right answer in completely different ways.
Yeah.
So that was a bit weird. But yeah, look, all in all, for a puzzle, it was fine. I just think it was in the wrong place.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I 100% agree.
but yeah, that was the Eternal Crave.
Yeah, I think
How would you rate Eternal Crave out of 5 hot peppers?
this is me in the way I think, and this is why I hate puzzles, right? I absolutely hate them, but I appreciate when there's a good one and timing and all that. So this is kind of me looking at it. I didn't have a really the best time in this scenario, but I appreciated what the scenario was also doing in a lot of ways. Like just the choices of creatures, the layout of the terrain. It was interesting. I appreciated it. I still hated it. Still hated it. But yeah, it was easy and then awkward, right? Because of the start, which was like, oh, is that all? We got 2 snow imps and we got a polar bear. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. There's this room. Okay, I'm clearing it. Oh shit! It was a bit like that, which was completely fine. I didn't mind that. But yeah, it was just, I guess, yeah, the terrain and all that just didn't gel well with me, and I don't, I. I wouldn't mind being on the receiving end of birds at some stage in my lifetime, and I don't think that's gonna happen. So
Yeah, I think that
that
was
would have
one
been
of the calls
amazing.
as soon as we started, right? It's like turn to him like, Diddy birds? Birds? Like birds would be
Yeah,
great right now if you could just give
would
us
have been
like,
great for the whole scenario. That would have been just
oh,
amazing.
amazing, amazing. So cool. Well, look, let's use that as a bit of a segue, and we will say we didn't have birds because you weren't on your snowflake because you were on.
I'm on Sally, the shackle.
Okay, just be really clear that Sally is the name of his character.
Yeah, yeah. I think Dwarf helped me name it. I think. Yeah, look, the experience. We did our shackling unboxing recently, and we were talking about it and going through all the cards. And this is the misconception that I have, a miscommunication with Phil, when I said, "Oh, I can remove, your poison. I can remove your status effect." That look, I can, right? I can remove poison by throwing a little heal out there. But obviously, it was like I want to take that status. The
Mm,
card that does that is called Shared Affliction, which is the one that all the statuses you have, whenever you attack something, you put it on them. So that was one of the first persistence I threw out, which was kind of where I was like, oh, I knew I had the ability to do that. I didn't realize it was on a card that I was going to be playing like first
yeah.
round. So that's where things kind of got a little bit awkward. Was that later on he was constantly saying, you can do this, you can do this. And I'm like, I can't do this. So the other thing is I started at level 3. I literally brought in level 1 and X cards. So
Hmm.
when you unlock the shackles, it's probably going to be a given you probably are going to be at prosperity 2 or 3, right?
Mm,
Possibly. Which means you're probably going to have start off at level 2, which means you're going to get one of those level 2 cards. It's rare that you're going to have all your level 1s and only your level 1s. The level 1s were fine. A lot of them I can see what they were doing. I couldn't get a rhythm going with it. For starters, the very beginning of the thing, everything's very spread out. And those snow imps, especially the normal ones, they have 3 health.
mm,
So, like you said, everything was dying incredibly fast. And I couldn't, whenever I needed to create an element that I needed, there was nothing to hit on an attack that was going to create that element for then a future turn that was going to consume it, because I was never in range of anything because everything was dying. I've got a bunch of different thoughts on this. The other one is the initiative. Shackle's initiatives are really quite slow. We're looking at probably on average somewhere between 40 and 60 and 70, around that kind of area, which is very foreign to me. I'm used to having some quite quick ones and then a lot of 20s and maybe some 30s and all of that. This is a different play style, and I appreciate it. I like that. It's just an adjustment in my head. Instead of I'm going to plan to hit the one over there, this is also where communication comes in. There was not a lot of communicating to the boys what I was planning on doing on my turn when it got to it. So there were a couple of times that Phil booked the guy I was hitting. He could have booked something else, but I didn't
mm.
say anything. I didn't tell him to. He was just doing damage everywhere, right?
Well,
So
because we couldn't know what you were wanted to
correct,
do because you didn't even know what you wanted to do.
correct,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
So
So
yeah, there was a bunch of different
if
things there.
if you were to do that scenario again, so take your first like again with the shackles, is there anything major you would do differently? Again, assuming you're not taking level 2 and 3 cards, which I think we've talked about are going to unlock a lot of potential, but is there anything that you can just tell that you're like, yeah, I kind of just didn't sequence this right and it really like meant that I couldn't do much? Like, is there anything you change?
Yeah, the very beginning. Anyone who plays Shackles and know, and I know there's a few people in our Discord that have got a shackles in their group and are familiar with some of what they have, they've got a card called Dark Malady, which because they're accumulating so many negative conditions and it's their whole thing. When they play this for that round and the next 4 rounds, they're not impacted by those negative conditions. And a lot of the times they've got other cards that say for each negative condition you have, add +1 to your damage for this, and a lot of that. I didn't know when to use that, and this is going to be part of the learning curve of shackles. So in the very first room, because there was barely any mobs, I was like, well, I'm not wasting it here. I don't want to use it here. I don't really know what I'm meant to do then. And what I should have been doing was move along, and hurrying up to the next room. Now, once we got access to the next room, we had a bunch of snow imps and ice wraiths and a polar bear. And I was like, cool. I threw it on before we went in. And then we opened the door and I was like, cool, I'm going to go in and get everything. I can't get in there yet. Puddle them away. That's okay. I'll get in the following. Everything's dead. Cool. And by that stage, it was like 2 or 3 rounds of it being up. And I had a lot of negative conditions on me. It was just problematic. So yes, the usage of that card with how I would like to play it needed to be a little bit more efficient. Like I needed to time it in a better situation. And I probably definitely need to use my move fours a little bit smarter.
Yeah, I think from that one scenario and seeing how it plays a little bit, you're definitely going to benefit from scenarios where we stay closer together and the mobs are grouped up a bit more, like where it's a fight rather than everything's just everywhere. Because it just seems like you want to be in range and have a multiple like opportunities to do stuff,
Yeah.
right? Where it's again, if things are low life or things are just there's only 1 or 2 mobs and they're just dying, then your abilities are just wasted.
Yes.
You can't take, if they're not attacking, they're not giving statuses, which means you can't take them. You don't get that side of things. You also don't get to throw anything out. Like putting poison on something on 1 HP is useless. Like it doesn't even seem like it's worth it. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting seeing the next few scenarios and what we get faced with.
The level 2 and 3 cards are already game changing, right? And I've already had a look at them. I've already decided which ones I want to take, which has been confirmed by Katrina in our Discord. That was like, no, you didn't take these 2 cards. And I was like, I'm planning to. They looked really good. Because when we were playing, I had the level 2s and 3s and I kept referencing them and going, so what would I pick based on what I'm seeing right now, based on what I'm trying to do? And I locked in 2 and 3. I didn't pick them then and there, but I knew what I was going to pick when I finally was going to do another scenario. So I'm feeling good about that, right? I'm excited to go again, 100% excited to go again with more cohesion and all of that. The other thing that's really standing out to me is also element production. I don't have anyone to produce my elements apart from Phil, who occasionally says, hey, I can make 5 for you. Not this turn, but eventually I can make the 5 for you, and we have to coordinate on when he makes it, or I can just make my own. My level 2 and 3 cards both make fire, right?
There you go.
So it's going to make such a big difference. We don't share any elements other than the fact that he doesn't consume them. He just makes them once. I think one card can make it, and it might be a loss, which is super unreliable. So I don't really know about using that. And finally, the hand limit. Going from 12 cards on a drifter to 11 on the snowflake to 10, you do feel it. And I'm starting to feel it, especially when you're starting to get persistence out. So having a shared affliction out, having delayed malady out at one stage was also a persistent, then went back into it, that became a loss. That was 2. And then the third one was the one that I was, every time a teammate within, an ally within range 3 cops a status effect, you can take it. So I felt like I could have been a bit more efficient and not used shared thingy at the very beginning and delayed it until I got a real feel for what we were up against. So yeah, some good lessons there. Loving it. I absolutely love kind of what I'm seeing so far.
It looks really fun. Like, 'cause I think today someone asked in the Discord of like, hey, if there were any of the classes you've got which you've unlocked that someone else has played, which one looks the most appealing to you? And the straight away my thought just went to shackles. It's like if I was to just pick up another class out of all the ones we've got unlocked, that's the one from what I've seen. That's the one I'd want to play because it looks like it has the most, I don't know, just interesting, cool little things that you can do, right? Like little mini puzzles to solve. So
Yes.
yeah, no, it's cool. I think I think it's going to be quite powerful. But yeah, good when we
I
can
want
get
Meteor. Meteor. I think,
mobs.
yeah. I don't think
Well, we're gonna next week. We're gonna do the boss, right? And it's
yeah.
gonna be Outbox territory. There's gonna be archers everywhere.
Yeah,
There's gonna be a
good.
big fat
I want
boss, like
meteor things. I think things
those
that live long enough.
ice speaker dudes who like do big cleave and just mess everyone up. Ones we stack for.
It's gonna
So
be great.
oh, you're gonna have so much brittle. So Very good. Cool. All right. Well, look, moving on. I want to just talk about a few things that I saw in the community. And I just a couple of bits and pieces, mostly from the subreddit that I want to talk through and get your thoughts on.
Definitely. I just want one little
Yep.
tiny thing regarding battle goals. I picked one that
Oh, yeah. I forgot about
absolutely,
that.
no, it's fine. That absolutely cooked me. I saw it and I was like, oh my God, why wouldn't I pick this? Why the hell wouldn't I pick this on my current class? This is easy game. I looked at Gaz and I was smiling and everything like easy game. And I had Tormentor. Now, Shackles, you would understand this. And I also looked into it and yeah, terrible, terrible choice. Apply a different negative condition to an enemy that already has one or more negative conditions. Nothing lived long enough for me to do that. And when I'm attacking something and all my negative conditions go on them, because it's simultaneous, they didn't have an existing one already. I needed something
Yeah.
to stay alive long enough for me to go twice on him or have
Yep.
someone else put a negative condition on him. So yeah, it was just, yeah, I didn't even get the perk that I really, really needed. I really
Yeah.
wanted.
I feel like that's one of those ones that, with lack of communication, which spoilers might be something we're talking about in a minute,
Oh,
is a easy one to do and to line up of like,
oh
hey,
yeah.
can anyone poison this dude? Right? Like, I mean, and that's vague enough to not give away what you're doing, but just like, hey, can anyone throw a poison out or a stun or a wound or
Mm-hmm.
anything? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, battle goals. I think I had something that I did. I
You
can't
had
remember what it
cleaner
was.
collect 3 or more loot tokens in the
Oh
same
yeah,
turn.
hey guys,
That's where
can
communication came in,
Can
Gaz.
you come in here? Because can you kill that guy but not take any of the loot that's next to me?
Yeah.
Like, why? And then you were even like, but you already did the loot one last week. I was like, yeah, I know, but there's like maybe another one. You're like, yeah, but it's like collect no loot tiles. Like, yeah, maybe, but there's another one. And you're like, what is it? Like, and it's like, I don't know because I don't have it because that would be cheating, right? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was as soon as I saw it, I was like, well, this will be easy because I can just like vacuum up things.
Yes,
So,
you can. And Phil had to
Phil,
basically not. He said, never end your turn adjacent to any other character. And he gains an additional tick for 4 people, which he failed.
yeah.
He
Yeah.
unfortunately failed.
So cool. All right. Did you want to do DPS and stuff?
It was just I'm looking at damage numbers at the moment. So Gaz finished up with 80 damage. His normal mixture of
Oh,
yeah, it's not bad. Well, look, when one person's not pulling their weight, the other two feast. Right? That's ultimately what happened. So you definitely finished on 80. Phil had 77. So you guys were like that, and I pulled
God. Like
out
so level 8 crab
yeah
going in hard.
yeah
And then level 3 blink blade who doesn't even know what his cards do. He's just like pulling out like 80 damage. Yeah.
yeah
Okay. Cool. I can see where this is going to go very quickly.
yeah. And I did drifter damage. Early days drifter damage. I did 13. So
Okay. Good old 13.
yeah,
So,
good old 13.
all right. Good. Cool. All right. So in the community, so there's firstly something I just wanted to talk about very, very quickly. I think we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. There was a 100K subscriber contest on Reddit. So
Yes.
the subreddit got 100,000 subscribers. It's the Gloomhaven one, so they kind of kept it in going into the Frosthaven for those that haven't been there. They had this competition. There was a whole bunch of things people submitted. There was art, there was guides, there was just heaps of cool stuff. I'm not going to go into all the details. I had a look through some of the art ones, some of the other bits and pieces. It's incredible. So if anyone hasn't gone on there, there's some ridiculously talented people on that subreddit, and they are doing amazing things. Like just if you got 5 minutes, click through even just the art things, right? Like you'll just see that the amount of work people went into it. So yeah, props to everyone who kind of entered that. I think they got heaps of entries for most of the
So many.
categories. And also, I mean, because one of them was they had like create a monster, create a scenario, and stuff like that, which is cool. I love that kind of stuff. But there was also create a guide.
Mm,
So I mean, in a way, it's really cool because it almost just threw a flood of guides
yeah.
out there. So for people that want to get amongst that, again, jump on there because you should be able to find some good guides for most of the classes.
Yeah.
So and this was across Gloomhaven and Frosthaven. So again, if you are playing Gloomhaven or you're just starting, it's also something you can jump into.
hmm No,
So
I
yeah, just wanted
agree.
to give props to that. But the fun one that I wanted to talk about, there was a post by somebody, and it was, "What's your favorite code words to avoid stepping on the rules?"
I
Okay,
saw this red. I
and
didn't click on it. Funnily enough, because
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
that.
well,
What do who cares? Like, okay.
now we've spoken about this before, but I have a few interesting things I want to bring up and get your thoughts on it because I thought it was quite fun. But interestingly enough, the opening line, the only comment from the person who posted this original poster was, "We enjoy saying we've got personal reasons for doing something that might impact our battle goals." Right. So anytime you're like, "Oh, hey, could you not loot that?" You're like,
Mm.
"Why?" Personal reasons, right? That's just what they use. So created this conversation. It was very, very funny to read of going through of everyone's different kind of code words, and there was two main camps that it landed in. One of them was battle goals. So how do you kind of
Communicate. You
step
need to
around,
do it. Yeah.
communicate and not communicate? Yeah, and the other one was initiative, which came up a lot, and that's the one I'll dive into it in a minute. But just to get your thoughts on code words, because we've talked about it before, right? We've talked about like, oh, hey, maybe could you not please do something over there, right? I guess where do you land on it all, right? Like,
I
what do
th-
you think about?
I legit think we're pretty good. We're very, very good with our usage of any code words that we do use. Okay. At the moment, the main one that we have ever any it's birds. It's 100%
Birds?
birds. That is
Yeah,
the
birds.
ultimate code word that we use. We don't even say birds. Oh wait, no, we do. I think we do. We say, so are we birdsing this round? Is it birds? Or I will say, I am birdsing this round.
Yeah,
That's it. And everyone immediately knows we need to go higher than 18. That is the
yeah.
magic number. Okay. Other than
Oh,
that,
when you say everyone, it's funny because I thought it was 23, but yeah, cool.
are you
I
serious right now?
yeah, 100%. Because like on my crab, I usually can't go below 23. So it was
Okay.
just, I had like one card that was like below that. I was like, oh, okay, so just don't go super fast.
Okay.
Like anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is the only time we don't reference any other card. We still do how early are you going? Okay. Are you sort of fast-ish, kind of?
Mm.
We're very vague. I can put my hand on my heart and say we are doing a bang up job on that and it never gets dodgy. With the exception of one of the snowflake cards, which I don't know, everyone was asking me how early are you going, etc. And I said egg. And this is this
So
is
this is Yeah, so this is the one I wanted to talk about. Not you saying egg, but this is the kind of communication, and we'll get to the battle goal stuff
I didn't
later, which I
explain
know is
why. I didn't explain
yeah.
why either. I just said and Phil several times. It might even be a recording. He's like, what the fuck is egg? He's like, what is egg? And Mark had to say, well, chicken and the egg and all that. And I'm sort of looking at him like, oh, he gets it. And then of course, well, what comes first, right? So maybe it's 19. So, but that is the only time.
So puzzles, right? Puzzles in the middle of your turn.
That's
So
right.
yeah. Look,
I'm
I
fine with
agree.
it.
I think. Well, I think yeah. As long as okay, yeah, we can talk about it more later. I just want to go through some funny examples of
Okay.
exactly what you're talking about, right? So we've got people talking about the speed. So on the slower end of fast, right? You know. So, but like how much slower?
Yeah.
The faster side of slowish fast, right? Uh, so there's some of those ones, and then you've got people that go into describing it with like your egg example, right? So brunch, right?
Okay.
I just started driving. There's a few around,
Okay. I think we've used that in Gloomhaven forever
I think
ago. We used,
yeah, we had
are you
someone that used
legal
that
or
a lot.
something like that, right? It was like something dodgy.
I'm in a retirement home. I've been drinking legally for a few years.
Okay.
There's that extra part. Like I can drink legally, and again that would change depending on where you're at, right? But you're gonna know the ballpark. But then for a few years, it's like oh yeah, a little bit longer than that.
Yeah.
I'm going Michael Jordan.
Oh, I don't know
So
his
again, there
number.
was 23. So there's a bunch of sport ones, right?
Buddy
There's a bunch.
Franklin.
It's like
Gotcha.
people like, oh, we just quote my favorite quarterback or sport, and people talk about that, right? Um, Now, the two things. I'm gonna go bring something up. Someone linked this amazing chart. Now it says it's in shit posting. Did you see this?
I have seen that in the port before in Discord. It's literally got every
Never
single one. Yeah,
Never
yeah.
seen it before, right? Never seen it. So I'll just read a few of them out that I thought were particularly good, right? Just some key initiatives. So this is the way that they've got for categorizing the code word for what speed you're going, right? So anyone at home can, if you're going at 1, you're going incredibly, really, very fast, right? Then at 6, it goes to very fast. And I'll jump forward a bit because I'm not going to read all 100 or 99. You've got at 28, I think it is there, it goes to quick. And then it starts going to things like barely quick, incredibly, nearly quick. Then we've got at 39, I think it is Nippy.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And obviously, because these are getting slower as we go. So, before that, you've got extremely nippy,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
And barely nippy is just after it. And then what do you think 50 is?
Uh, Sluggish?
Average,
Yeah, okay, well, that
because
makes
it's in the
sense.
middle, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. And then you got some boring ones, which are just below average, barely below average, et cetera, et cetera. But as
That's where
they
I'm
get a
sitting
bit
right
high
now.
up, you get to, I think it's like 70, what's that, 73, 72, sluggish. Yep,
Oh,
you were right
really?
on.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But then the funny combinations are the ones that are like barely really sluggish, like extremely really sluggish.
Yeah.
It's like all these like prefixes on the thing, and they've actually got the chart designed so you can see, because it's like 67 to 99 is slow, and then within slow there's three categories. There's sluggish, slow, very slow. But then within each of those categories there's three more. So you
Mm.
can kind of figure it out. You're like, oh, okay, I'm going slow, sluggish, sluggish. Okay, that's basically between 72 and 74.
So, what is birds?
Birds is what's that across? Incredibly really quick.
Okay. It
Oh, no, no, that's
doesn't feel it.
23. That's 23. I thought it was 23. I
Ah,
told you.
yeah, maybe,
Hang
maybe.
on. 18 is barely fast.
Oh, barely fast.
Yeah, barely fast because 17 is fast,
Got you.
right? It gets faster as you go. So, yeah, exactly. So anyway, I was looking up this. I was reading all these great comments from people about the different crazy ways that they code worded to do it. And then I saw that post. I hadn't seen it before, and I laughed out loud. Like, I was going through some of those, and it's like, this is great. I love that someone's gone to this effort to put this together, to do it.
I wonder if
So
anyone's actually using it. Everyone's got their own printout reference and,
yeah.
not
Well,
breaking the rules, right?
I think we talked about this, like episode 1 or 2, I reckon. It was a while ago, about these codes and stuff. And the problem I think that there is with this, it's like, the game Hanabi?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So Hanabi, for those who haven't played, is like a team co-op deck building type game where you've got your hand but you can't see it, right? Because it's all showing what other people are, and they have to tell you which card to pick or something. I can't remember how it is, but basically you're trying to get people to play cards in the right order. That's
Hmm.
essentially the game.
With very, very limited communication start
Yeah, with,
methods.
with with basically none, right? I think you can
You can
point a little
point.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The problem is that it tells you what you can't do, but then that leaves it open to everything else. And I remember
Mm.
having this conversation with some friends many, many, many years ago when I'm playing it. It's like you can start creating these codes, right? Which is essentially just been you just talking. So if you get to a point where you create these codes and you're like, well, now the game is super easy because we've just created a different language.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, do whatever you want, people. Like, I don't really care.
The game
But
is
I think that's
based around it, right? It's literally based around it. Otherwise, it's technically solved. And it's kind of like, are you even
yeah,
playing the
correct.
game anymore? It's literally done that with that in mind.
And there were plenty of people in this post that were basically like, oh, look, we actually, interesting enough with the battle goals, they're like, we just bumped the difficulty up by 2 and then just tell each other what the battle goals are, right? Because they're like, we got sicker. We did it fine for the first 20 scenarios and it got dumb because you know what they are and it doesn't become a secret. So we just did that. So again, there's a whole bunch of different ways of getting around it. I'm glad we haven't gone down to the path of, like, actually talking about stuff like that. Like, I mean, other than birds and now egg. But like creating these codes, because I think it does ruin a little bit of it.
It does.
Like, when you know what everyone else is going, I feel like it's becomes a lot easier.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a mystery. And I also like the idea of I also, I also like the idea of sorry, just something randomly fell in my room. That was the ghost saying no, it's fine.
Mm.
Use codes.
Hmm.
Uh yeah, yeah, I really like the idea of trying to coordinate through obscure, like, hey, can you not go fast?
Yeah.
Like, how fast? I like, just like go like slowish. I need, it's stuff like that is fun because then you get to reveal, and it's like, well, did we correctly do this puzzle with very little information?
I was trying to explain this to Jamie, our friend who has been listening to the pod. He hasn't played Frosthaven or Gloomhaven. He's just been listening to us and enjoying it and thinking he actually bought Frosthaven today. So it's funny that'll be arriving. He's like, can I solo this? And I was talking to him about it. But one of the things I said to him was what makes it really good, because he was explaining to me other dungeon crawler games that he plays with his friends, is that this one does have that level of uncertainty with what you're doing a lot of the times, because you can't actively communicate. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but you can't, like rules is written, give too much away, and it's not in the spirit of the game. And I said the way they cover that, at least in Gloomhaven anyway, was that your mercenaries, going along trying to, do things to fill your pockets. I mean, the looting system was literally like, when you loot something, it goes to you, right? It's not goes to the party. Who wants this? Who wants that? Now people fix that to make it a more cooperative feel, but it's still built into the DNA of the game, where you're going to end up the battle goal system. You're going to be making selfish decisions that are really going to benefit you because you really want that perk because it's for you. In a way, it annihilates that quarterbacking feel, right? The way it's just built into the DNA of the Haven games is phenomenal, and I personally don't see a reason to change that because it works so well. If we are not having a good time because someone really just can't work off the vagueness and the assumptions of how people are going to act, then we're going to have to make those changes and alterations.
Yeah.
But when plans go awry, I mean, it's not even just us. The initiative system of when something can go early and absolutely mess up your plans because they go earlier than you, stick a fat shield on themselves and retaliate, and it's just built into it. It's part of it. So no, I
Yeah,
love what they're doing.
I think that happened to Phil twice in this one, where the Frost Imps went at like 5 and gave themselves 5 shield. And he's like, "Oh, but I did little baby attacks.
Mm,
Like I was going to do two little attacks on this thing, and now nothing's going to do damage." So yeah, it is. It's cool how the monster deck screws your plans, and then it's kind of cool when other people screw your plans.
yeah.
So yeah, no, that's cool. The one last one I'll say, okay, because I think it was particularly. I had to check the username as well to make sure it wasn't you. Okay. So
Okay.
it particularly interested me.
Okay.
And I'm gonna read it now. This had spoilers marked off it because for people who haven't done this, there would be spoilers. But if you're listening to this podcast, then you don't care. And we have done this, so it's fine.
Okay.
Because this was a general post about Gloomhaven and Frosthaven. In Frosthaven, there was an event that gave us an ally named Ormy,
Okay.
who acted on speed 30. So you would best believe we would say, I'm going Ormy speed, or
Okay.
I'm a little faster than Ormy, or Ormy could run a lap around me, etc., etc.
Got
in
you.
future scenarios. So I love the fact, and this just adds to the Ormy mythos, right? That has created this one NPC we've had. In this one person's game, there's 4 people playing the game, I assume 4. Has now created an entire code system based on him. He's had such an influence.
Such an influence. I mean, yeah, that's I like that. Yeah, if it's so tough because we've done it obviously with birds, and
Mm.
that's in reference to a single card, but it's also been removed to other 18s. It's literally just the number 18. Not for
Yeah,
you because you've forgotten, but for
yeah,
us, like I
23
literally, as
games.
the shackles, I have an 18 card, and someone was like, "So what are we doing? How early are you going?" I'm like, "I'm going birds," and then I played
So,
18.
I mean, the thing is, though, the way I kind of saw it was that outside of that situation where you actually had birds, it's like you can communicate, hey, look, cool. Like when we were like, hey, can you give us +2 to move and jump, right? Like you can say yes or no, right? Like you don't have to tell us the cards you're playing. But I think when we knew what the initiative was, and I don't think it was too
You
breaking
didn't.
anything.
So
No, exactly.
it's
See,
even less breaking
no,
because
for me, yeah, it's
I
breaking because
can't
I thought it was
believe it.
23. Yeah, the whole time. So, okay, cool. Last thing on this, because I actually went to the rule book and I looked up the communication examples and the rules on what you can say. And
Oh,
I wanted you to see if you could tell me what you can and can't say.
right.
So I'm gonna read out these because in the book it's just got some ticks and crosses. Okay, and so I'm gonna randomize these, right? And I'm gonna ask them to you, and you need to tell me if you can or if you can't say it.
Okay. Okay.
All
So
right?
I'm definitely on the spot now.
Yeah,
I'm in the hot
100%.
seat. Gotcha.
Cool. All right, cool. I'm going in the first quarter of the round.
In the first quarter of the round. I don't think you can say that.
Correct. The book says no.
Okay.
Uh, I'm planning to move here and heal you pretty early, hopefully before the monsters attack.
That's fine.
Yeah, that is fine. I should be dealing 4 damage to the Elgox guard.
Now, this is a funny thing. I don't think we use specific numbers. I think we definitely say we're going to hit it. I don't know if you can use specific numbers. I know you can't do the card, but the number of the attack is on the card, so maybe no.
That's correct. No, I think it. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it's the 4 damage, 4 damage piece.
Yeah.
Cool. I need you to move there for unbreakable wall.
I don't think you can do that
No,
because you're using the name of the card, right?
Yes, correct.
So what if you call it like ooh, like UW, like
Well, I mean
I'm
that's
gonna
just
do
a
U
code word,
dubs.
right? That's just a code
Yeah,
word, right?
okay.
I think you can say, "Hey, can you move there?"
Yeah, okay.
Right? Or yeah, and look, we've done that, right? I think that's where that part's fine. It's like if you go, "Hey, can you make sure you leave that space free?" Or, "Hey,
Oh, that
can you make sure that you end your turn here?" I think is completely fine because it's almost just asking someone to do something with their turn.
yeah, that's fine. I'm just
Yeah.
talking about in that situation. It's like you can't use the word of the card, which is birds. Birds is actually birds of a tempest, I think.
Mm,
Right? So I technically shouldn't be using the word birds. But
correct.
literally it's just to the point where it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
All right.
Another one. I'm attacking this Elgox archer near the end of the
You're
round.
not, it's killing you.
Huh? Oh, yes, correct. Yeah, yeah. If by the end of the round you're dead.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you say that? Even though it's false.
That's a tough one because end of the round, is that
Near the
okay?
end of the round.
Near the end of the round, is that too specific? Nah, like I would let it slide, obviously, but whether or not the rule book will let it slide, I'm probably gonna say it's probably gonna say no.
It's actually yes.
Oh,
You're
okay.
allowed to, which is interesting because it says you're not allowed to say I'm going to go in the first quarter of the round, but you're allowed to say I can do something near the end of the round. So I guess it's the being specifics, right?
Yeah.
Near the end, vague. People could assume it's 20 or 30 or 40, right? Whereas it quarter specifically says 25.
Yeah, true. But near the end of the
Yeah.
round is not 20 or 30 or 40. I mean, that
No, as in
person's
20 or 30, 40 away from the end of the
got
round.
you.
So yeah.
Okay.
And last one, can you infuse earth on your turn? I will try to go after you.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Oh, there you go. Well, other than that one that was a bit vague, you succeeded. So we're
Yeah.
not cheating.
I
Come
think
on.
we're pretty onto it. I don't think
Yeah,
it gets dodgy. I think there
I,
was
I think we're
one.
keeping that. Yeah,
There was like one or two funny moments where Phil, like we're all selecting our cards or whatever, and then Phil's like, Phil was selecting his cards and he picked one and he went, "I'm going at this, I'm going at this. Just put this number in, but I haven't selected my second one yet. So just lock it in and then reveal." And we're like, "No,
yeah,
that's not how that works." Because it was like,
yeah,
why? Because then you get to see what they're doing and choose a different
yeah,
card as your second card. Other than
yeah.
that, yeah, it's been
But
super
I
smooth.
think I think in that instance it was like he didn't even think of that.
No,
Right? He was just like, "Oh, I'm taking a while and I don't want to slow things up, so I'll
correct.
just put my number in and then you guys can go and I'll pick my second card." And we're
Yeah,
like, "No, no, I don't think you're seeing the problem with this." It's like, yeah, then you see what everyone's doing. You're like, "Oh, this would be a really good card to play right now." So yeah, yeah. All
no.
right, cool. Well, that was it. I thought that would be a bit of fun. There was a couple actually for the battle goals, because that was the main post. Just a couple of interesting ones that people use. They would say instead of like I think reasons, they would be like it would mean a lot to me if. So I thought
Okay.
that was fun. If they say kill once, they say this boss, elite, common, dude, door insulted my family. Only I'm allowed to deal with it.
Okay.
So
I like it. Getting
uh,
into the role play. Do it.
yeah, yeah. I feel like that's it, right? Like, I think it's okay to break that if you're gonna role play your character.
Definitely.
And I think someone had when they have completed their battle goal, they announce, "I'll stop playing like a complete jerk now." That's all they say. So yeah. So thank you for those who posted amazing things on that post because it was very entertaining to read. And I don't want to read out all names and stuff like that, but you should definitely go check it out if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, well, now I actually might because I saw that topic. I saw the wording, and I'm like, code words. I don't. What are you on about? And I was like, nah. I didn't even go in, and I'm
Yeah.
going into nearly every thread, usually to see whether or not Dwarf is responding to it. I just find super amusing.
Yep. I'm sure actually somewhere on that post, and maybe it's because he's been away for Thanksgiving, there'll just be dwarf just says no. right? Because that's the standard response.
Yeah.
Cool. So the last thing that I wanted to go through was a game. I wanted to play a game with you.
That was the game. What are you
Nah,
talking
that wasn't
about?
the game. No, that was just a bonus. That was like a warm-up game.
All
Warm
right.
up game. This is a game that people at home or in their cars or in their shower, wherever you listen to consume our podcasty video goodness,
Yeah.
they can play along,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
I'm calling this game "Are You Smarter Than a Detty?"
Oh, okay. That's not really
It's the
fair.
it's the rules and admin quiz.
Oh, dude. Okay.
Yep, yep.
That's
Now,
messed up.
so there's going to be 11 questions.
Oh,
Okay, okay, 11 questions. You get it's this really simple 1 point for each question. Okay, and I'm going to be the adjudicator whether you get it right or not. So I'll give the answer after each one, so that if anyone again is listening at home, they can see if they're smarter than a
I
Detty.
will get you back for
Uh,
this, but yeah.
yeah, I know you will. I know
Yeah.
you will. Like that's it. But I thought, hey, I can't miss the opportunity. And yeah, so I'll go through now. I have looked these up. I actually had to read the rule book and found some interesting things about the game. Uh,
Finally,
but
Gaz, after like we've been playing since February. We're now in November. I'm glad you've read the rulebook now.
oh no, I haven't read the whole rule
Oh,
book.
okay,
I
good.
read so I think where it's posted on BGG, it's broken into three parts because it doesn't allow file size to put the whole thing.
Uh,
And obviously don't have the rule book because it's your place. So I really only read the first third. So I know a little bit about some of the things, but some of the more complicated stuff, don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to throw the caveat out there is that some of these may have been errated and changed. I assume that these are correct because they're in the rule book and I've taken them from the rule book. But
right.
if I'm wrong on any of these, as per normal, I'm sure that there'll be a couple of people little message us within 8 seconds of the pod going live and tell us we're wrong. So please go ahead and do that, and maybe we can adjust your score accordingly. Cool. All right, let's get through it. So start off with an easy one. How do you calculate the recommended difficulty level for a scenario?
Oh, the app tells me.
That's why I chose this one.
Okay, so I've manually done this a few times because I've questioned whether the app is right, and then I go, crap, I can't remember the formula. I'm going to check the rule book, and then it's okay. So it's the average level of your party, which is okay. So yeah, your average level of your party, divided by 2, rounded up.
Oh, ding, ding, ding. Good
Yes.
job. All right, I'll keep score for you and I'll tell you what you get at
Okay.
the end. All right. Now, some of these you're going to have to think about. I want you picturing in your mind us playing, right? So, all right, this is a true or false one. So, you're 50-50 chance of getting this one right.
Yeah. Can I find a friend?
You can. Who are you going to call?
No one's really awake around this
Can't
time that I
call the
really
dwarf.
need to call. Yeah. Okay.
So, cool. So you loot a weapon or something, a hand slot item during a scenario, right, from a chest,
Yep.
and you've already got 2 hand items equipped.
Yes.
Okay, so true or false, you can use it and go over your limit of 2 hand items.
True.
This is just too easy.
I've
Too
read the
easy.
rule book, but whether I can remember it all, but
Understood.
I have at least read it. Some of it
All right.
will trigger.
All right. See if I can trip you up with this one.
Why are you trying to trick me
Okay,
up?
because I want you to get them wrong so we can learn.
Ah,
Right,
okay,
that's how we learn. All right.
okay.
Uh, if I have brittle and ward, and a monster hits me for 5 damage,
Oh
how
god.
much damage do I take?
You take 5.
Oh, this guy, he's all over it. See? Look out, Dwarf. Daddy's going to write his own FAQ. All right. If a figure has both regenerate and wound, which one triggers first?
I don't know if I have an official ruling of this. I think it might. I may have seen it before because this would have been one of the things we looked up at some stage. I can hear all of you yelling at me now. Yeah. So I think.
I'm picturing the Price is Right thing, right, where you're standing up and you can't. They're all like, rah,
Yeah,
rah.
yeah. And I'm turning around to them like, just do I point?
What is the TV worth more than the car? I'm not sure which one. Yeah.
I vaguely remember seeing a post somewhere, and I think this has come up. And Dwarf, I don't know if he was over it at the time, or not, but I think his response was, "Yeah, it's ambiguous. Do whatever you want." So maybe it's player choice, and then wound doesn't regenerate, removes wound, and heals you for 1.
Ooh, I'm going to give you 0.5 because
Okay.
your answer in the end, your outcome in the end was correct, but your workings were
What?
wrong.
No, it doesn't matter.
It does.
It doesn't
Uh,
matter.
so in the rule book, it says regenerate will trigger before wound,
There you go.
but no player choice. There's no player choice because, and I have
But players will always pick that.
no,
Surely.
no, because I've got to make sure we could be. There's people listening. They could be like, "Well, these guys are pretty switched on and always right with the rules. I'm going to use them as my gospel for rules questions." Suddenly, they're playing and they're going to be at their local game store playing Frosthaven, and someone's be like, which one triggers first? Oh, I really would like this wound to trigger so I can drop cards and I can get my battle goal." And someone's like, "Yep, listen to the podcast. They said player choice, right?" And
Yeah.
then what happens is they find out at the National Frosthaven tournament that they're wrong. Okay,
But it's
so
their game, so do whatever you want. It's their tournament. Do whatever you want.
it's the rules. So you get 0.5 because you got the right answer, but you got there the wrong way.
Bullshit.
Yep. All right, cool. Does a partially spent item, okay, so say one charge out of the two for our disadvantage armor, refresh when taking a long rest?
Uh Ooh. No?
Ooh, it does now. It didn't in Gloomhaven. They changed
Okay.
it.
Yeah,
Yep. Which
because
is
I'm trying to think about it from a defined point of view. Refresh your items, but if it's not spent, you can't refresh it, right?
yeah.
Because I'm
Yep.
sure we would be doing it like that, surely.
Yeah, I don't know actually. I think it's ever come up.
0 points for
We usually try
Gaz.
to burn those. So, but yeah, I agree. I know in Gloomhaven it didn't because I remember being in really specific situations with the quartermaster where you
Mm,
draw a refresh and you couldn't refresh your armor because it hadn't been fully ticked over. But yeah, it does now.
that's
So
really rare though. Like most of the things we have are tappable, and then the ones that are force charged ones like that, we get bashed around so much. There's no way in hell there's one sitting on half a charge.
no, yeah. So, all right, cool.
Wait, did I
True
get a
or
point?
false?
Did I get a point for that?
No, because you got it wrong.
Yeah, but it's been fixed, so I was kind of right. You didn't mention if this was a Frosthaven quiz. I didn't get
On
the
the
terms and
Frosthaven
conditions going into
podcast,
this.
I read the
Give me another
Frosthaven
half
rulebook.
to
No,
fill up the other
no,
half.
stop trying
I'm
to
keeping my own
negotiate
track of
half a
score now.
point. Okay. See, hang on. You claiming admin error? So for for those that will go way back to like episode 4 with the drifter
Yeah,
and the DPS meter. All right, true or false? A character can teleport while immobilized.
true.
Yes, they can. Cool.
Because I think Phil had that exact situation come up many moons ago on his Deathwalk, and you said no.
Yeah, I did say no. I was
Mm.
like, no, that doesn't make any sense. You're immobilized. You can't move. And I was like, no, you can still teleport. If there is a tie-in initiative between a character and a monster, how do you determine who goes first?
Is can I can I formally answer it in a form of a question?
Yeah, sure. Jeopardy rules, right?
Uh, is it player's choice?
Is that your answer?
Yeah, player's
No.
choice.
Nope.
Oh well, the player goes first is what I mean. That's actually what I mean. That's what I intended. Player has to go first. It wouldn't be monster go first because we haven't run into that situation.
Yeah, but
Yes.
your
No.
but
It's
your
player.
first answer.
No.
Stop trying to weasel out of
I'm
this.
not.
You are. It is not player's choice, which I think we thought it was. I think we would have played it that, but it actually says in the rule book the character always goes first.
That is important only because there will be times you want to go after. So
Yeah.
yes, I think that I get a half a point, and yeah,
That's
and we
actually
learn
wrong.
something new. It's not
Not
wrong.
1 point for right answer, it's half a point
My
for wrong
working
answer.
out was wrong.
You're working out the correct answer. All right, let's move along. True or false? Enemies can move through invisible characters.
Like us characters, or
Yeah,
they're out.
like player characters. Yeah.
False.
Turns out it's true.
Well, if is it
Oh,
because hang on, is it because if someone goes invisible and it's the only path, then yes. Otherwise, it's an obstacle and they would go around it, right?
no. So I think that's another change from Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven, invisible characters or monsters were treated as obstacles. It specifically says that if you are an invisible character, the monsters treat as though they're not there, so they can go
Stupid.
through them.
Stupid rules.
Pardon?
This is why we have house rules. And this is why the house rules are so cool.
Well, this is really interesting because again, that's not one that I was aware that got changed, and I know that was a common thing they used to do in Gloomhaven is use people to block doors, right?
Yes.
Invisible people blocking doors or paths.
That's why I thought my thing was like, oh, they can go through it if they have no other choice. Otherwise, they'd see it as an obstacle, right?
Yeah, no, it's not not an obstacle anymore.
Yeah,
They're just not there.
I don't care about the points anymore. Carry on.
It didn't say anything about invisible monsters though, so I'm not quite sure if that means you can move through them. So I'll have to dwarf get on that one.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, cool. This is a bit of a thinking one.
Oh well,
right?
yeah, sure. They all have been, but yeah.
All right.
Player's
Phil's
choice.
blink blade. Phil's Phil's blink blade is on 3 HP. Okay.
So this
And
is
he has
normal.
poison. Yes, correct.
It's
And he has
fiction.
poison.
Correct.
Yes, heals. Right. You are on your snowflake. Okay. And you've
doesn't get
chosen not to
healed.
heal him. Correct. So you've actually gone full DPS.
Uh-huh.
But during your DPS, you flipped over
Heal
3
plus one ally.
heal ally modifier ones. Okay.
Yep. Can I split
So
them?
you have now. Pardon?
Can I split them?
So you target him with the heals.
Yeah.
Right. What's his HP value after you heal him?
5. So I draw 3 plus heals.
So on your snowflake, you draw 3 heal and ally rolling modifiers.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
So you got healing into healing into healing
Yeah.
into +1 damage.
Yeah.
Yep. And you throw it on him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently, when healing modifier cards are drawn and they're thrown on a person, they count as 1 heal, like 1 instance of heal.
Got you. So
So
can
it's
you
poison.
can you split them to
I
other
assume so,
people?
Yeah.
That's where it's kind of stupid.
What's stupid?
I'm just saying, if you can split them and go, Mark have one, you have one, all in the same attack, ultimately, because I drew 3 plus 1s, but I can't throw them one by one onto one person. So it's a simultaneous thing. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's it.
Gotcha.
So yeah, if you have one or more, then it counts as 1 instance of healing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
It's never going to happen,
cool.
but yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the only way you're ever going to heal anyone is if the game forces you to, right?
That's literally the only reason I ever heal to feel. I'll be real.
All right, cool. Here's another one. Ice is up, okay? And there's frost wraiths on the board.
What? Ice wraiths?
Ice wraiths?
Yeah.
Frost wraiths.
Frost demon or ice wraith?
The ones that shift between
the ice wraiths.
Ice wraiths.
Yeah.
Ice. Okay, great.
1 less point for Gaz.
Yeah, -1. Cool. So ice is up, and the ice wraiths draw their card Restore Essence, which, if you haven't memorized their entire deck, reads heal 3 self, and then consume ice to gain 2 shield. Okay, so the ice wraiths have their turn. They consume the ice and now have 2 shield for the remainder of the turn. Follow so far?
Yeah. Did they heal?
Okay. Yeah, they heal themselves, and then they get 2 shield, right?
Yeah.
Later that round, Phil opens a door, and inside is another frost wraith. He finishes his move and hits it for 5 damage, total after modifiers.
Yeah.
Does the new frost wraith gain the benefit of the 2 shield?
These are interesting. They're really interesting because they've come up in some way, and I can't remember how we ruled them. And I feel like it's a 50-50.
Well, it's yes or no.
Yeah.
So, yes, you have.
Don't interrupt my working out.
Okay, sorry.
So it's definitely one or the other. And I think I would play it right now. If I didn't have a chance to go and look it up, I would play it right now that they did. They would take the shield.
So would I, 100%. And we'd be wrong.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So anything that hasn't acted, anything that acts after them doesn't get it. So if it spawns, or if it's summoned, or if it opens a door and then it acts later, even though it acts at the same initiative, it's still going later.
Yeah.
Doesn't get it.
So it's a different
still
instance of acting. Got you.
Yeah. It can eat it if it comes up again. Like, so if ice got generated again and then we revealed it still has the chance to, but it needs to actually do it itself. Yeah.
This is cool. I wonder how many people got these right.
I'd be curious as well. I mean, 10 out of people I got 12 out of 11.
It'd be funny if Dwarf had the lowest score and he was like, screw this, and he just left.
All right, one last time, okay, and this is a math question for you. All right, so big brain math math quiz to finish it all off.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and this is going to speak to your brand new shackles class.
Good.
All right. So one of the shackles cards, burn at both ends, reads.
I don't have it yet. I'm about to
Yes.
have it.
Oh, okay. Well, one of the shackles cards that you're about to have, okay, reads burn at both ends. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And the card says suffer up to 4 damage to cause an enemy within range 3 to suffer an equal amount of damage. And then we'll ignore the rest of the card for the quiz purposes, right? That's
Yeah.
the part I'm concerned. So that's the card, right? And you play that card, right? You have brittle when you play the card. You choose to take the maximum 4 damage.
Mm-hmm.
There is an enemy within range 3, so a valid target, which also has brittle.
Mm-hmm.
How much damage does the enemy take?
So I'm taking 4 damage with the brittle on me.
Mm-hmm.
And the card reads again that to suffer the
Suffer,
same amount of damage.
suffer up to 4 damage to
Yeah.
cause an enemy within range 3 to suffer an equal amount of damage.
Then the creature would suffer 8.
It would suffer 16.
Yeah, it would suffer 16?
Yeah, how good's that? How good's your new card you're getting? You just pump 16 damage into whatever you want.
Why?
Because you take 4, which doubles into 8, which means it takes 8 and then doubles into 16.
Why is his doubling?
Because he's got brittle.
Oh, he's got brittle.
Oh, you didn't listen to the question.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. No, that's yeah, damn it. I didn't listen to that bit. I thought I had it, so it was like working out my brittle and what he ends up with.
Oh,
that's fine.
But you are correct.
That would be tits. I mean,
Yeah.
I won't use that word because that sounds terrible.
Yeah, lucky you didn't use that word.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Just edit that out.
It's Eric Cartman thing, okay, everyone. Anyway,
that's it. So yeah, cool. And that is it. So you got 4.5 out of 11, which is actually pretty good because there were some tricky ones in there. Like I reckon for at least half of them, I put them in because I read them and like, whoa, that doesn't sound right. But I'm reading it from the rule book, so it's probably right.
Yeah, okay.
And one of them was from Dwarf.
Oh, you asked him?
Yeah, I asked him. I was like, "Hey, I need some really obscure rules questions."
You
people.
bastard. Okay.
But no, it was he gave me a few, but my only one I took it and was the shackles one.
Yeah. Okay.
So because
Nice.
he said topically he said, "Well, Detty's playing this, and these are a lot of the questions we're getting at the moment." So
Yeah. Cool. We don't know what we're talking about, so yeah, good.
So yeah, well, so hopefully, somebody learned something. If you learned things about rules that you didn't know, and if we got any of these wrong, I'm sorry. Please don't like use these in your game and say that I said that was the correct answer. Let us know if we got something wrong. And Dwarf, can you please correct my answers? So that's it.
Yeah,
Did you
fantastic.
enjoy that?
No, I did. That was really cool. I really cool. I definitely like that. I think that if we are planning on doing this in the future, I think I'll put a thing out in the Discord, etc., and gather a whole bunch of everyone else's questions and throw them at you.
Yeah, that'd be really fun, actually. Yeah, do that. So I didn't have time to go. I was going to get them vetted by Dwarf beforehand.
Gotcha.
But he had Thanksgiving and a whole bunch of turkey to eat, so
That's true.
he was like, "Oh, I don't know if I can." So I was like, "Okay, that's all right. I'll just wing it. I'll look him up myself in the rulebook." So
Thank you, Dwarf, for not being there, so he got to read 1/3 of the rulebook. I appreciate that.
I skimmed most of it. So.
Okay, good.
Cool. But that basically wraps us up. I think that's all I had planned. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover?
No, not really. I was listening to. It's funny. I just had 3 quick points. It was just I was listening to some old episodes recently, and apart from the cringe, we were so young and innocent back then, guys. It was kind of cute, right? Listening to just you and I stumbling over some of the topics and trying to talk about this big, brand exciting game that we were so excited to sink our teeth into. And it was a couple of things that I think were interesting then that we're having now. And there's 3 quick ones. The amount of bitching about the loot deck we did at the beginning, it was interesting how much we complained about the amount of wood and metal we were getting. It was like, oh, this is crap. All we're doing is looting wood and wood and wood and wood and metal and wood and wood. We really need some wood right now.
Oh, we have nothing. If we could build Frosthaven out of a hide, okay, then we would be the kings. But we just have there's no wood, none wood.
In that same episode, we had one hide and we were all fighting over what we were going to do with it. So yeah, it's funny how the tables have turned.
Oh dear.
And it was it was very cool. We mentioned at some stage how we haven't taken the Banner Spear and the Blink Blade in one of our just general conversations on one of the episodes, and how if we get new characters, we would end up choosing the new ones because they're in a box, right, over the starters. Although you did say by episode 50 we would have seen all the starters. Interesting words, because we're
Oh, very close actually, aren't we?
yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, we're at 42 now, so we might
I
have
didn't
by
realize
that.
it made that call.
Yeah,
That's good digging.
yeah. And finally, you were doing something quite naughty with your Gemini in the very first or second scenario. I think when you unlocked a card and it was the whole 7 and 7. It was the first introduction when I got a PM from one of the first people that were getting in contact with us. It was, and you pronounced it as iron and wine. It's like, oh, thanks so much for helping me out with the Gemini and knowing that I can't just go 6 and 8, with my card decks, etc. So it was kind of, it was one of the first community messages we got from our community, and it's cool because he's actually nice and in the amDirt community now, just in general. With I have chats with him all the time regarding how things are going and scenario choices and all that. So no, it was just fun going back and just looking at some of those little tidbits.
I'm glad that you put some kind of positive spin on that because I was like, you literally dug through all that and just went like, and here's the very first mistake you made, Gareth. I just wanted to highlight to remind everybody how crap you are at the game.
No.
And on that note, let's end the episode. So no, I appreciate bringing that up.
No, well done as well. This has been a fun episode, so thank you so much.
That's all right. Well, I will host again in another 20, 30 episodes.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, that brings us to the end. I have nothing else. Detty has, I think, gone through and probably been quizzed enough.
Yep.
So if you want to get in touch with us, we have a YouTube channel. We have a Discord. You have to hit up Detty for that, though, because it's like
I'll chuck that in the notes. I learned that you can make an invitation, which is what I had already, but it times out after 7 days. So if I leave it in the show notes or anywhere, it'll time out eventually. So I'm just worried that people come in and post nudes and spam stuff. That's all.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe don't do that. Anyway, hit up Detty, just harass him, and we're also on Instagram ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And
You're good at this.
yeah, 100%. So yeah, heaps of prep, right?
Yeah.
And we're on Twitter. That's not called that anymore, is it? It's like X now.
Yes. Yeah, we are.
Yep. So just search for us, see if you can find us. And if you find us, let us know. Like it's like a scavenger hunt. I want you to message us if you find us, be like, hey, I found you, right? Like, because we're hiding.
Yeah,
That's
we
the
are.
whole point. So
Doing
it's
a terrible
fun.
job now.
Cool. Well, I have been Gaz, and I still will be, but I will leave you for this episode. And joining me
Is me, Detty, and I had it. I literally had it. Now I'm in my own head and I'm on the spot. It's not the DX thing. It's when it comes to rolling. Remember, when it comes to answering a quiz and getting everything wrong because you don't know the rules of the bullshit that Gaz is throwing at you, it's all in the wrist.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 41 of our board gaming podcast, A Master's Degree in Rolling Terribly. 42?
Yeah, it's 42.
All right, let's try that again. I swear it was 41 because I went back onto YouTube and I clicked. Oh, did you count the. Yeah, I swear I listened to the one that I wasn't in.
Wait.
Was that the last one? You just fucked me up.
No, 41 was Ice KV.
Oh, I completely forgot about that. I was even talking to Mark and I said, oh, it's all right. The boys did one without me and you, and it was Starter Phil's thing. And then we did one, which was probably, but you didn't come to, so you didn't miss anything. I completely forgot about that one that would have been really good for him to be in, and it was heaps of fun.
Yeah, the one that we recorded last week.
Yeah. Okay, fuck. Well, hopefully he doesn't listen to the podcast.
Yeah, this isn't the intro bit, is it?
No.
Okay.
We'll have to start again. So 42. I better change that. I even looked it up. I spent time to look it up, but apparently YouTube decided that was the one that I was like, amDirt. It's like, yeah, here you go. This is the episode you want to watch.
They brought up. Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
41.
Yeah.
So cool. All right, let's try that again. Take 2.
Mm-hmm.
All right.